Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to talk about water conduction in plants. In my previous videos I have discussed about xylem, phloem, how they work and what are their components. Okay, so today we are going to talk about water conduction in plants. So plants need water for photosynthesis, right? And via photosynthesis they make their food, that is glucose. That product is also called photosynthate. Okay. Now, in order to transport the water, so what is the main source of water in case of plants? Plants do not have tap or RO or anything. So the best source of water for a plant is the nearest source of water and minerals is obviously soil, right? So from soil the plant gets its water and minerals, right? Now these minerals includes calcium, magnesium, potassium and chlorine and many more. Fine. So these water and minerals they are getting from the soil, right? And the food that is produced via photosynthesis, it is often produced in leaves, although in other green tissues also food is produced, but the main uh, place in case of plants are leaves. That's why leaves are called kitchen of plants, right? So this water and minerals, they need to move upwards, right? They need to move upwards. Why? Because the soil has to reach the leaves and other photosynthetic green tissues, right? And the food that they have prepared, that is the glucose, or here we will say photosynthate, this photosynthate needs to travel everywhere throughout the plant, that it can reach all the parts, because without food the plant part will not survive. So as I have said earlier, that the upward movement or upward the carrying part, whatever is carrying upwards, it is done by xylem, right? That is why xylem mainly carries what? Xylem mainly carries water and minerals, and the photosynthesis or the food that needs to travel down, right? Travel down throughout the plant body. It is done by phloem, right? So that is why I have said earlier also that phloem's movement is always downwards, right? And xylem's movement is always upwards. Okay, now so xylem and phloem, they together acts like pipes. Which can do what? Which can transport water and minerals and photosynthate both. So in this video we are going to particularly learn about xylem's conduction, that is water conduction in plants. How plants carry the water from the rootlet or root hairs to the tip of the plant. That's what we are going to learn today. Fine. Now for absorption and conduction of water and minerals between the cells and between the cells to the environment involve following physical process. Okay, now these processes are involved for transport. First one is imbibition or imbibition, you can call it. Second, we have diffusion. Third, we have osmosis. Okay, and then we have active transport. And and then we have passive transport, right? So these are the processes that we are going to do, what that we are going to learn in order to know the water conduction in plants. Today we are going to focus on few topics, that is imbibition, diffusion and osmosis, and active transport and passive transport. This two part I am going to explain in my next video. Fine. So let's start with imbibition. Fine. Now what is imbibition? Okay, so in imbibition what happens, that molecules like cellulose, starch, protein, these are what? These are hydrophilic colloids. So what did I say? Cellulose, right? Cellulose, starch, okay, and protein, okay, cellulose, starch, protein, they are what? They are hydrophilic in nature. Hydrophilic, right? Hydrophilic means, you may have another term, that is hydrophobic, right? Hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Now hydrophilic means it has affinity towards water. Hydrophilic molecules means these molecules have affinity towards water. In very simple language, we are going to say that they like water. Okay, they like water. Fine, they like water. Fine, they have water affinity. And hydrophobic means they do not have water affinity. They don't like water. Fine. Phobic, this word comes from phobia. We all know that phobia means a type of when you are scared of something. They are not scared actually in literal meaning, but hydrophobic means they do not have any water affinity. It means they do not like water. Okay, in simple language we are going to learn this: do not like water. So hydrophilic means they like water. Hydrophilic molecules mean they like water, like cellulose, starch and protein. And hydrophobic means they do not like water. Fine. So in this we are going to talk about the hydrophilic molecules here, and they are what? They are cellulose, starch and protein. So what happens in this process? These hydrophilic molecules, they absorb water in their living or dead cells. Okay, the cells can be living or dead, but whenever these type of colloidal hydrophilic substances comes in contact with water, they do what? They absorb the water. Fine. Like I'm going to show you one diagram here. Here you can see this diagram. Just a moment. Okay, now so here what we can see, suppose these are two beakers or test tubes, you can assume it. Okay, so there are dry seeds. Okay, there are dry seeds kept here. Okay, and they are soaked in water. These two are beaker. Okay, they are soaked in water. After certain time, what we will see, that they are swollen. These seeds are swollen and their volume is up, and the space is completely occupied by the seeds. Okay, now this is imbibition. I'm going to give you a very simple example. If you take some kala chanas, or the Bengal grams as you can call them, if you soak them overnight in water, that's how we eat it, right? We take the chanas and we just dip it in water for overnight, and then in morning what we can see that the chanas are swollen and it is softer, right? You cannot chew a dry chana, it will hurt. But in morning what happens, these chanas get softer, right? Now this thing is done by imbibition. And there is another very interesting what do you call it, experiment. If you take a box, suppose you take a box, a plastic jar or something, okay. If you take a box and you suppose this is the lid, and you take this box, this is kala chanas or any other seeds, and you fill this box with water. Fine. So next few days, what you will see, you will see that this box is what, this box is filled with this seeds, okay, and the water is completely soaked up. And if you keep it like this, what will happen, after few days, this box will break, okay. This box will completely break by the pressure of this uh, seeds. The seeds will put pressure on this box, okay, and the box will eventually break. This is imbibition pressure, okay, imbibition pressure you can call it. Now you may ask that how it is useful for plants, you can ask it. So most seeds germinate. See, here is a picture of seed germination, right? Here is a picture of seed germination. So most seeds germinate by this process, by this imbibition process. So hard seeds, they do what, they absorb the water, and they rupture the seed coat. You can see here the seed coat, it is ruptured, right? The seed coat is ruptured, and hence the sapling is coming out, right? It is germinating itself, right? Now imbibition helps in the uptake of soil water by root hairs, right? And it helps in the movement of water from cell to cell in the plant body. So I'm going to give the examples. First of all, it helps in uptake of soil water by root hairs. Please excuse my handwriting today, okay. And next, it helps in cell to cell water movement, okay. So this was imbibition. Fine. Next we are going to talk about diffusion. Fine. Just a moment. Okay. Next we are going to talk about diffusion. Okay. Now diffusion is what? Diffusion is free movement of molecules of a substance from what? From higher concentration to lower concentration. Fine. From higher concentration to lower concentration. Free movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration is called diffusion. This is the simplest definition I can give. Fine. Now I'm going to give some examples. Suppose, let me take some another color. Okay. Suppose here is a beaker and here is a beaker. Fine. Now this beaker is what? This beaker is filled with water. Fine. Water. And if you put some dye, any colored dye, okay, let it, okay, if the dye is red in color, okay, you throw a small piece, and after a certain time you will see that the entire water is changing its color. The entire water will changing its color, and it will become what? It will become red in color. The liquid will become red in color. Now this is an example of what? Diffusion. This is one example of diffusion, okay. Fine. Now few more examples I will give. Suppose you take a perfume or a agarbatti and you spray in the corner of a room. After a time you will see that the entire room is what, the entire room you can smell the agarbatti or the perfume. Why? Because the molecules are spread evenly from higher concentration to lower concentration. Right now, you may ask how plants are using this. Plants use them in exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, okay, between leaves and outside, leaves and outside the air. Fine. Movement of sugar and other solutes also from one cell to another cell, it is done by diffusion. Okay, so movement of sugar, solutes and water between adjacent cells is facilitated by diffusion. Okay, that is how one very easy example, smell of flowers. Okay, smell of flowers. Same way like the agarbatti and the perfume, the smell is what? The smell is spread and it attracts the pollinator, and it attracts the pollinators. Pollinators mean insects, mostly honeybees and other insects, which helps in pollination. Fine. Now this is what? This is diffusion. Okay, this is diffusion. Next we are going to talk about osmosis. Fine. Now osmosis and diffusion has its similarities. Okay, so osmosis is the movement of solvent molecules from a solution of higher concentration of solvent molecule to one with a lower concentration. Here also you can see the solvent molecules move from what? Higher concentration to what? Lower concentration. Right, higher concentration to lower concentration, but there is a difference, a very major difference between diffusion and osmosis, that in osmosis we also need a semi permeable membrane. Okay, here we need a semi permeable membrane to travel the molecules. In diffusion we don't need such things. Fine. Now osmosis, we can divide osmosis into two types. One is endoosmosis. Fine. And then we have exoosmosis. Okay, now in endoosmosis what happens? The solvent moves inward. It is the inward movement of water into a cell through semi-permeable membrane. Here I am going to give you an example. Suppose this is a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, semi-permeable membrane, and here something is kept. Suppose a cell or some liquid is here. Okay, here I am going to change the color of the liquid for better. Okay, suppose this is the liquid and here the concentration is less. Okay, and here the same thing is present but the concentration is way more. Here the concentration is way more. Okay, so what will happen? Okay, so what will happen? Endoosmosis, suppose this is the inside of the cell. This is inside of the cell. This portion is the inside of the cell and this is the outside. Okay, this is the outside. Right, so water will move from higher, here the concentration of water is high, right, and here the concentration of water is less. So here the water will move inside. Water will move inside. Right. One example of endoosmosis is if you take a resin. Okay, if you take a resin and you put it inside a glass of water or a bowl of water, then what will happen? The resin will what? The resin will get swollen up. The resin will get swollen up, right? The resin is typically like this, right? It will get swollen up because of endosmosis. Why? The water will enter the resin. The water will enter the resin. Fine, this is endosmosis. And in exosmosis, the opposite thing happens. It is the outward flow of water from a cell through a semi-permeable membrane when it is placed in a solution which is more concentrated. Fine. Like if you take a grape, here you are taking a grape. Okay, suppose you take a grape here and you put it in a very highly concentrated sugar or salt solution. Okay, let it be a sugar or salt solution. Here the concentration is too high. Okay, here the concentration is too high. So what will happen? From the grape, the water will come out. Water will come out. Fine. And what will happen? This grape will become flaccid or sunken. It will become sunken. Fine. So that's it for today's video. Up to this much, endosmosis and exosmosis. In my next video, I'm going to talk about active transport and passive transport.